Faces are really, really scary until you figure out that there is a pretty simple map that you can just draw and have a face. And that map starts with a circle. And you want this to be kind of an even circle, where it's about the same width as it is long. And then I just do a dot through here, or a hatch mark, cross mark. Okay. Then I'm going to take the same distance as from the middle to the edge, so the radius of that circle, and I'm going to drop it down and put a little line. So this radius right here, I'm making another line about the same length, and I'm putting a little line. This is where my chin sits, the bottom of my jaw. Down from the outside of the circle, I'm just going to lightly sketch a line descending down. And I'm just going to kind of like let it fade off because I'm going to end up intersecting this line with another one. So it comes about halfway through this bottom portion. And then from my chin, I am going to slant upwards to meet that line, and I'm going to try to keep it pretty even and symmetrical on both sides. People's real faces are very rarely super symmetrical. But we tend to find symmetry pleasing as a species in the face because it's often correlated with a sign of being very healthy. So, for example, if you had a stroke, the musculature might not be even on your face, and just biologically we see that and we think, oh, that person is less healthy. Not always accurate, but it's the monkey brain talking. All right, through here, from this point to this point, I'm going to draw a little line. And I'm going to draw another line coming at the midpoint of this line. So it comes just above the bottom of the circle, bisecting like that. Now we have a gridded map that will tell us where everything on our face goes. If we wanted to add one more point, we would find the midsection for each of these lines and add a dot that runs down like that. I made this one a little wide. So like that. We can now start mapping everything out. The key thing that people tend to do when drawing faces that throws them off is they want to put the eyes up here. They actually are down here, sitting on this little crosshair. The circle that I've drawn here brings it right up to the brow ridge, so your eyebrows sit right above those circles. All of this space up here is actually covered by hair in your head. So if you wanted to, you can put in your hair there. All right, your ears come even the top of the ear where it connects to your head, even with the center of your eye mass. So your ears line up with your eyes. Your nose hits right around, either on or slightly above this line here. the very bottom of the nose hits the line, and the width of the nose is just right above it and sits in a triangle in that space. Very simplified, what I like to do is just give a little spot where each nostril sits, and then just a little curve for that, for the bottom of the nose, and then a little curve, usually just on one side, for where the bridge of your nose is. I might also, depending on the person, give just like a little bit of where like the fullness of the tip of the nose is. There's a lot of different ways to draw noses, and often something as simple as a little shape like this can suffice to be like, that's a nose. Or a shape like this. Or this. It does not take a whole bunch of lines to indicate your nose. At this scale, simplify it. Your mouth comes at, the width of it is no larger than coming to the center of your eyes. Often it's a little smaller. What I like to do for a mouth, if I have this center line, is I give a little bit of a curve for your philtrum, which is like this little part of your lip, and then a curve like that, where it just comes a little above the line and then comes right back down. Then I can do a little curve for the bottom of the lip and a little curve for the top, maybe a little of that arch. But that tends to be enough for a mouth. Very simplified. So if I'm drawing that here, it literally ends up like at max being something like that. Just small. I didn't really even get this like curve. If you want them to smile, just wing up a little bit on the edge. You could even put, if they have dimples, you know, you can put a little line in. For eyes, I like to do a very simplified eye on fashion figures. You're never going to get in all of the details at this scale. It's just too tiny. Maybe if you were working digitally, you could, and you had it set at a really high resolution. So what I'm going to do is I have my eye shape here. I have my lines coming through it. I am simply going to come up to about the center, wing down, and then if I want to give a little eyelash, I just wing outside of that shape just a little bit. Maybe a second one, depending on how big my head is. Then I will drop, well, okay. It kind of depends on what type of eye I'm drawing. Either I will give another little curve that curves up right here, that is the bottom of the eye. So the bottom of the eyelid curves up. And then I will give this shape, and then another shape inside that usually I just fill in black. If I simplify this even more, it comes to basically being that. Just really, really simple. If I really wanted to go more, I would just give myself a little bit of the idea of the upper arch of that orbital arch. How this looks at scale is honestly like this. I'm not going to get much more detailed than that at this scale. I'm just not going to achieve it. Oh, I added a little bit of like curve like that to my nose because I like that a bit. And then eyebrows. I forgot eyebrows the other day and I was like, why does this face look off? There is this trend with bleaching your eyebrows, which does kind of like, and just like, or like shaving them and not having any eyebrow, which has been a trend in history before, in ancient Egypt. But people would shave their eyebrows off if their cat died. But it kind of gives us almost like a permanently like shocked and open eye look if we don't have our eyebrows. I like eyebrows. I inherited nice thick eyebrows from my father. So how I like to position my eyebrows is I give myself a little dot for fullness that is coming about right here on the face, so just above that arch of my nose. I wing it just slightly up to the top of where that arch would be, where I drew in this line for the eyebrow key, and then a little bit down. And that is my face. And then, you know, I can bring in my fine liner, get the jaw in, put this ear in, if I can even see it through the hair, put in my hairline. I love curly hair, so I put it on a lot of my figures. And then do my very best to replicate my eye shape over there and use my same mapping to get my eyebrow in place. And then I can figure out hairstyles and whatnot. The hairstyle I can change up, but that's a little key for mapping in the face. You can do this every time and then erase it out. Or you can draw a key and hold it right next so that you're looking at those proportions. I'm going to now transfer this onto my croquis. How am I going to do that? I'm going to use the lines that I already have here and recreate the same little shape. What I am going to have to do is add some width to the back of the head so that I have a full circle here. Get in my lines for my nose, my mouth, my eyes, eyebrow, ear, and honestly I'll leave it at something like that for like a croquis, because I can map in different facial features then. I know it looks like a little like weird anime skeleton head. That's what I leave it at. So now, how do I go about using this to sketch out fashion drawings? That is a whole nother video.